What's up? This your boy Humble Dad. Welcome back to another edition of Humble Dad Podcast. We got a special show tonight. Why? Because I said so. We got some top tier individuals that we're gonna be talking with this evening, and we're gonna start with none other than one of the greatest on the platform right now, Mr. Sahel Speaks. What's going on, sir? I'm getting
My good
everybody.
sir.
I'm getting everybody. Y'all better be ready backstage. You feel me?
Oh, I'm ready. So good to see you, good sir. Thanks for having me on tonight.
Man, I appreciate you coming through, man. Hey, what would you say your best talent is?
Well, I don't like to toot my own horn, but if I have to answer the question,
That's a
I
fact.
think it's my communication skills. I think that this is my selling point. I think that this is it.
That's a bet. Okay, selling point is that you speak well. All right, that's a
Excellent
bet.
communicator, yes, sir.
Excellent communication. Let's rock with that. Then coming to the stage, I think they're eating. You know what I'm saying? They ready? No, all the way from H Town. Dan is in the building.
Why you had to call me out?
I said be ready.
I am ready.
Like when Jesus come back, he's not gonna be like, you know what I'm saying? You just got to be ready. You feel me?
Jesus is gonna catch me with this plate. I'm ready, Lord.
what's your favorite? What's your best talent?
My best talent,
Yeah.
a few. I would say I'm really good with my hands. Let's just go there. I'm good with my hands.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Yeah,
I
because you
can build things. I do hair. I build things. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you did and then you do the face paint sometimes, don't you?
Oh, I have done face painting. Yeah.
That's
I
crazy.
told
You don't
you a
even
lot of
remember. That's cool. Whatever. All right, cool. You know what I'm saying? My bad, sister.
It's okay.
All right. Well, we still rocking and rolling. Hey, welcome to the stage, Mr. Dwayne Jones. What's going on, sir? You on mute? Can't hear you.
Jump right to the chase. All right.
Okay.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Go ahead.
I'm ready.
Go ahead. What's your favorite? What's your best talent?
Best talent is the ability to learn new things. So one of my favorite things to do is learn new recipes that I can put down for the family. So
that's what's up.
You're welcome to let us know when we come into.
Man, I already offered. I'm ready.
I have some extra, Dwayne. I got you.
Yeah, I mean, email it to me.
This. All right, in the back chat, here we go. Run it back. We got him up on stage, Mr. Trigger Mike. He's back at it again. How you doing, sir?
What's up?
Yeah, man. What's your talent, man? What's your best talent?
Unlike Sir Harold, I love to toot my own horn. Okay, so I was gonna say I'm a professional shooter, pro-am style, competitive shooter, but it's not really that I want to highlight. I believe that through that particular skill, I've learned that I can teach difficult concepts to anyone. That's something that I pride myself on. Looking at my past and how lax I was in school, I never thought I'd end up an instructor. I have taught at the collegiate level for several years now, and that is something I do pride myself off, especially for underprivileged, Black, Hispanic kids that need these concepts broken down to them. And one of the things in the shooting community is that you'll notice a lot of instructors, if you go look for a class, they hate dealing with beginners because they feel like they're dangerous. They feel like I'm gonna get shot. And what I did was take a market that nobody else wanted to service, make a class that was so, informative and hands-on to where you can learn everything about the firearm before you ever fired off a shot. So it's safe to do so after you've learned in my class. So after seeing that and getting I went out for a sec.
Yeah, I did too.
Everybody.
Oh, but yep, that's my talent. God said, Keep tooting your own horn. I'll shut this whole shit.
And welcome to the stage,
Oh, I did.
Miss Shay McNuckles. I don't know what's going on with the internet today. It's gonna be one of those nights, maybe. Okay, we'll see. Let's see. You might have to go out and come back in, Shay. All right, we're gonna get this party started. I say my best talent would be teaching individuals math, developmental math, algebra, algebra 1 specifically. I'm one of the greatest on the planet. You know what I'm saying? So I taught special ed. I've taught high level learners. I've taught 60-year-olds. There was this one lady. You know, one of the questions that I always asked was, who don't like math? And, you know, most people raise their hand. And I said, well, after this semester, I'm sure that you may not like it, but you're definitely going to understand it. I said, well, and one lady, she said, well, I'm not going to understand it. I ain't going to like it at all either, you know. And I said, well, just let you know, I'm one of the greatest on the planet. So it's going to be different. Well, she said, whatever. At the end of the semester, she made a C. She came back the next semester, and she said, I just took your class because I wanted to do a better job. And she made a B. Another year later, she was in another class. She had somebody write. She wrote me a card telling me that she didn't believe me in the beginning. She finally did, and that she was making an A in her current class. So I would say that's my special talent. All right, Shay.
Can I ask you a question on this one?
Yes, sir.
On that math, is it more so about people's the mathematical propensity, that proclivity toward math, or is it more so about their perspective and their their belief that they can actually learn it?
Well, I think it's a combination of both, honestly. Because I've taught the spectrum. So most people feel like they can't do it because there's so many gaps, right? So if they miss the step, then they don't realize that they missed the step, right? Mm-hmm. And they don't realize that they got to also practice on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. So in my opinion, I think everybody can learn math, because if you can learn, then you can learn math.
And I also want to add to that, because I taught fundamental math at the college level, and it's basically giving everybody their math fundamentals back because they've had such a long gap, as Humble Dad said. And the biggest thing is I do the same thing in the first class. I ask, okay, who's afraid of math? Who doesn't like math? 99% of the class will raise their hand. And it's really about letting them know that why math is important, right? Because the thing that everybody was told is like, I'm never going to use this. So I make sure I put it to them in terms that they can truly understand and how it relates to their everyday life. I say someone who is well-versed in math will do something in 2 steps versus the 10 steps it takes for somebody who is not well-versed in math. And when you start telling them like that, it's like, do you want to waste your time all the time? Do you want to know how to shortcut things almost immediately? Those are people who are good at math, who are good at weighing probability and ratio almost instantaneously. They don't realize that it's merged into their thinking once you are really good at it. So anybody can learn it too. Developmentally, I had I think a 96% pass rate. So, once you get that fear out of them, then I can't, they start to excel very quickly.
Yeah, I agree with that. Shay in the building. You there?
I'm here.
All right. What's your talent? What's your best talent?
My best talent is I know how to make money, and I'm really good at that.
Talk about it.
I do it, and I do it well. And I know how to help other people make money. So that's my special talent.
That's a bit. How long you been helping people make money, Shay?
A very long time.
Let me ask you.
Over a decade.
Oh, okay. I'm about to say, are you one of them women? Okay. Because, listen, fellas, let me know if I'm wrong. Okay. When you ask a woman anything as it relates to time, they never give you a number. They'll say it was a long time, or you had some how many. They'll say it was a lot. Like, they give you words, but they won't give you a number. Is that just me?
That's just you.
Okay. All right. All right. Is that true, fellas? Is it just me? You see him go silent?
The fellas don't even want to answer.
My bad. I'm just trying to figure out what her name is on Facebook so I could borrow some money. Let somebody
I
today.
know how to make money. And part of making money is knowing how to keep your money too.
That's what's up. All right, y'all ready? Here we go. First response of the evening is kids are. You're going to fill in the blank. Kids are. And you're going to fill it in the blank. So I'm going to give you a moment of think time. Kids are. Kids are. All right. We'll start with you tonight, Dwayne. Kids are.
A blessing.
Okay.
A blessing. Kids, man, kids are selfish, right? And I know I did not desire to have kids early on at a young age because I was selfish. So God found a way to give you one of the most selfish things to realize how selfish you are, and then have you cut that out and reform yourself. Like get it together. Like something completely dependent on you and the mother, and you got to make it work. If and the funny thing is, even early on, like there's only a couple crying by default. Crying by default, man. Some people could tune that out. I can't, and and that's trying to fix it. I'm a fixer, so if I can't figure out how to fix it, oh man, that drives me crazy. So that's the whole part of selfishness for myself, is that's for dialing it back, being patient, and trying to figure out something that's outside of myself.
That's good. Who
So
you got going?
she's a blessing.
So kids are. Who you got going?
Shan, come on with it. You try to share that.
I'm going to kind of piggyback off of what you said and say that kids are a reflection of you, right? So everything that we are our children, and we get to see the good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent. I know some of my flaws I see within my own children. And like Dwayne said, it really does cause you to be introspective, so that you raise human beings that are better than you. And of course, we are going to not say all the right things or do all the right things and cause some trauma here and there. But overall, it does allow us to look at ourselves on a deeper level, so that we can make sure that we are raising productive citizens, people who are whole, who are happy, who have good health, mental and physical. So yeah, I would say kids are a reflection of who we are and who we want to become. So, and I'm going to pass it over to Sir Hale is not even on mute. So let's just go right on to you, Sir Hale.
So appreciate it. So I'd say kids are, drum roll please, these kids is wicked. These children, if we don't save these children correctly with the fear and admonition of the Lord, these kids are, but what I'm speaking to their intelligence is that these are kids, their minds can do all kind of things quickly, and they are more intelligent today than they've ever been. So I mean that wicked when I say it, but I mean this, they have the ability to do so much and learn so much so early, that it's stunning to witness when you actually just look. Like I see some babies know how to work a phone. Babies know how to work a phone and do stuff. You know what I mean? Like that stuff is awesome to me. So yep, that's what kids are.
Who you got next?
Let's go with Trigger Mike.
All right. So, as I haven't told y'all this yet, but I had a bad drinking accident when I was like right after college. So I have a bad short-term memory. So if you ever see me writing things down, it's so I can remember it when I get called upon. Yeah, watch out for that Bacardi 151. It'll do you in. So kids are our greatest joy and our worst fears realized. Greatest joy is obvious, right? Nobody needs to explain that. But worst fears is absolutely, what I see in my children now, and they're only 3 and 5. Every triumph that I have in my life, yes, they can benefit from, but every deficiency I have in my life, they can actually acquire. And everything that's wrong with me shows up in their behavior, in their, lack of respect at times, in their snappy nature. It all shows up. So if you want to know who I am, look at my kids. If you want to know where I'm weak and where I'm deficient, look at my kids. So all those worst fears that I had, and the times where people try to tell me I was a certain way when I didn't want to listen, showed right up in a embodiment that I cannot deny, which is my children. So
that's good. That's good. Who you got? Shay, it's on you.
Sponges, they can literally just soak up whatever they choose to, from school things to music to business. Like, kids are doing phenomenal things, and they are just like little sponges.
So we got little sponges. We got that they are like us. We got that they are wicked. so, that's a gamut of things that we're saying that kids are. I like that part that says that they are a reflection of us. I went to a homeschool convention one time, and this guy, he was asking a dad that was supposed to be like a professional dad, so to speak, trying to talk to us about how to raise our kids. And the guy said, I'm having troubles with my son. Like, so what could I do? Guy says, well, maybe God's trying to show you yourself because of how your son is acting. And so maybe you need to look through it, look at it from that particular lens. So, and that was probably like 6-7 years ago. So it kind of aligns. So that's a simple question or a simple statement that, kind of sets the stage for what we're going to be talking about this evening. So the next question is going to be, the question is, how do you think your kids view you, or parents? We'll put it like that. How do you think kids view their parents? How do you think kids view their parents? Okay. We'll start with Trigger Mike.
Kids, well, man, it's so different, right? Mom and dad is so different on how they view. I believe that how they view mom and dad is completely different. So I am a dad, so I guess I'll speak to that. I think they view me as my particular children as the disciplinarian, the ultimate disciplinarian. They know they can get love from me, but I think they also look at me as that ultimate measure of accountability. I think y'all heard me say last week that I get really upset at my children, especially when it's time to discipline them. I get more upset when I notice in my eye that they were looking at me before they did something wrong. They did that check. Like, is he watching before I do this? And, God gave me these big old eyes for a reason. So I'll just snap my head and be like, you're caught. But on a deeper sense, and I noticed that, my reaction is going to be intense, and you decided to do it anyway. So that tells me that I can never falter. I have to remain consistent in this accountability and discipline that I'm giving you. So for me personally, as a dad, they definitely expect us to be that disciplinarian. One thing I've noticed about our generation now is that when you talk to maybe like 35-year-old, 45-year-old women who are kind of toning down the independent woman rhetoric, and you just talk to them, one thing they say is, I didn't have enough discipline at home. They'll say things like that. They'll say someone they weren't consistent in their amount of discipline. And, they were trying to be bad, but they actually wanted somebody to stop them. And they didn't have anybody to give them that ultimate accountability and discipline. So that's how I feel like kids view their parents.
So who you got going next?
Let's get Shay.
All right. Ironically, Vinny and I was talking about this this morning, because I heard him tell his therapist, like, his therapist asked him if he could ask anybody what he would ask. And so he would name several people, And then Vinny would list off his questions. So Vinny, when it came to his mom, he said he would ask me, "Why am I a robot?" And I was like, "A robot?" So I was like, "Does it mean I'm not showing emotion or what?" And so this morning I actually asked him, I said, "So what did you mean when you told your therapist you were asking why am I a robot?" He was like, "Because you allow what people say to control you, or what people do to control you." And I said, "Oh, okay." I thought it was because I didn't have any emotion. I said, "Okay, so what do you mean by that?" He's like, "Well, if someone says something you don't like, then you're gonna say what you don't like back to them, or you're gonna do whatever you don't like back to them." And I said, "Okay, that's fair, you know." So he would say I'm a robot, and that has reminded me to just try to check myself more, and not try to check people all the time, because I do a whole lot of checking. I do. And I think when you have done it and you're doing it and you have the liberty to check people, you check people. And I do that consistently. I do it well, but I will be more mindful of that since he associates that with being a robot, and I definitely don't want him to think that these people are controlling my response. So I'll just be more intentional about that. And then he said for his father, he would ask him, "Why is he so hard on him?" So I guess it goes back to Trigger Mike saying that the fathers are the disciplinarians. And so maybe I just need a softer touch. All right, we're going to pass it over to Dwayne.
Oh man, man, I remember my dad. He used to drive trucks, and sometimes he'd go out, overnight, so he wouldn't come home. And I'd ask my stepmom, "Hey, is pops coming home tonight?" "Oh no, he's still cool, cool." And there's something with that because it's like as for I could get away with more. That's how I look at it. I could get away with more. And my mom, because they were divorced, so I lived with my mom for a bit and I lived with my dad for a bit. So I got to see both sides. So from my mom's side, she worked overnights, which made it even worse because I could do basically whatever I wanted. But then my mom was a lot more lenient. And she tried. She tried. There's something about a strong woman. Like a strong woman will never be a man. That's how I see it. So as much as she tried, she has a strong woman for her mom. As much as she learned and all that, it still wasn't the same level of discipline as as my dad. But then my mom, I would see that also then impacted her in a negative way because she didn't have that emotional side that you would typically see, I would say, in a woman because of that. So I was able to then play both sides, as for being able to get away with everything that I wanted to get away with because children, hey, what's that? Wicked? They are wicked. There we go. Thank you. Yes, that's what they are, and in it is being able to play the field for their best, the best leverage that they can. So if you're not consistent, like on both sides, they're going to play it how they can. So that's how I look at it. So as for the way that they see me, hey, where's mom? the young, hey, where's mom? Hey, you with dad right now? Yeah, I know, but where's mom? So, but then I do see that is eventually as they get older, they're going to develop a certain um, um, respect or a certain level of gratitude to what I am trying to do for them. So that comes with time and a lot of things. Unfortunately, that return of investment takes a while on the disciplinarian side
Who you got
because it's
going
not
next?
instant gratification. Sorry,
That's a fact. It's not
uh,
instant at all, for sure.
Shane, come on with it.
This was a tough one for me. I'm glad there were a couple people that went before me, but when I thought about the question, it was hard for me to give one specific answer because we transition as parents. How my kids view me. I know some of you have the 2 and 3 and 4 year olds, and how they view me when they were that age.
She out of there.
It wasn't me. But I do want you to know I'm taking all these little opportunities to stick food in my mouth. God
She
bless.
good with her hands.
God bless. So how my kids view me now, I think is a lot different than you know, when they're a little younger, they think the world of you. Not saying that they don't now, but they've also had some life experiences that we've all kind of ran through together. We've gone through a divorce together. And so that has kind of changed my perspective in how I'm also raising them. That was a big deal for them to go through. So I feel like I laxed up a little bit. I think my husband and I were kind of equal, maybe in disciplinary, and probably me a little bit more than he was. And so after that happened, because of the traumaticness of that, I eased up a little bit on my kids. I didn't want to continue laying down the iron fist, but I think my kids are very aware that if we turn a corner, we're gonna have it out. They also know me as, I guess, protector. They know I don't play games with people just in general, but at the same time, we can make TikTok videos together, and they look forward to those moments, you know. And I'm, I guess, the cool mom in that aspect, because none of their friends' mothers are worthy enough to be on the TikTok with their children. So I take that as an honor, you know, that I am being asked to do that. But at the same time, they understand who I am. I think they understand my role in the household as, unfortunately, kind of being everything as a single parent. And they respect that enough to kind of love me through the process that we're going through together. So it's definitely changed over the last couple of years. And I look forward to what it's going to be in the future. Sir Hell, come on.
Yep. So my thing is the kids are wicked, and I think it's important for us to understand the depth of no. I'm kidding. So I think the way that the kids,
Crazy.
I think that it changes. So I've learned the way that I was raised is kids don't start to like their dad until they get older.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I've allowed myself, because it's hard to go from disciplinarian, structured, this is what I say, here's what you do, to, hey guys, let's go play a wonderful round of kickball outside and let's have a good time. It's like, Daddy, we don't want to be around you. Get away from us, right? So it was hard because you don't want to feel like a monster to your kids. But there were times you got to be firm because you're developing a foundation in them. So for me, I've learned that my kids see me as a disciplinarian, but as they get older, they start to see why I'm that way, and it deepens the love. So my kids are now, all of them in double digits. You know, 2 of them are teenagers. So now we have a different relationship. Like what I was to them when they were like 7 and 8, he just always coming down. We can't do nothing. Now I was like, we see why. Okay, Dad, we want to go with you. You see what I'm saying? So it's just different. You're the same person. And it's really not about you doing anything different. Is that them growing up, seeing what you do in a different light. And I think that changes that dynamic. So I'm definitely the disciplinarian, and their mom is more of the lenient, lenient side. With polar opposites. So they'll ask their mom for stuff first before they ask me. And their mom's favorite words is, "Go ask your dad." Yep, go ask your daddy. Yep. Yep. And
That's
that
a
way
good
we kind of
woman
circle
right
their
there, bro.
problems.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's a good woman right there.
Yep.
Who hasn't went yet? Is it Trigger Mike?
I went first.
Hold
I
on.
think.
Yeah,
Did Trigger Mike who went? Oh, you went first.
Yeah.
That's a bet. Okay.
it's on you, humble dad.
No, I don't. I'm not answering this question. I am the moderator. You know what I'm saying?
You just don't want us to know
No,
how they
y'all-
really feel
okay,
about
well,
you.
okay, no,
That's
no,
what
no,
it is.
no, 100. I mean, I ask my kids how I'm doing all the time. I mean, I mean, I've been asking them how I'm doing before I started the Humble Dad podcast. Because for me, I like to be great at things, and so one of those things I like to be great at is being a dad. And seeing as though I didn't have one in the house and one that I could aspire to be, other than my uncle Anthony, what I'm saying? He was out of the house though, what I'm saying? Um, I wanted to ask questions because I didn't think I was going to do a good job. And then they was old enough to speak. So I'm like, okay, so how am I doing? And I got, the answer. I said 1 out of 10. Got that from Kevin Samuels, the 1 through 10 type deal. And they gave me a 6. I was like, man, I thought I was doing better than that, but okay.
Are you in an adjustable 6?
That's good. I don't know, but the reason I would say that it was a lower 6 because I asked for information on why it was a 6, and it was because of my lack of communication. That was from Gianna, and if y'all know Gianna, she's highly intellectual, and she told me because of how I communicated, and I said, "Do you have an example?" She had one in her back pocket, and then she gave me the example, and I was like, "Man, you're right. I didn't communicate that well at all." And so how they view me is, before Jen passed, they viewed me as the disciplinarian, as the person that is talking loud and being boisterous. And I'm like, I talk just like this. My voice is just deeper than hers. It's like I don't even yell. So I don't even know what y'all talk about, And they would run to her, and so of course she would say, "Go ask your dad." Depends on when that was, but now I'm seen as I have to be the nurturer. I have to be all those things. Like I'm not a nurturer, but I know that I have to hug them and I have to love on them differently than I had before. So the way that they view me is that I'm tough. Now, they said that I look to make as much time as possible for them, which they appreciate. And the other thing I need to work on is my my patience level, because I can get to a point very quickly because you ain't done what I asked you to do. You know what I'm saying? So that's how they view me currently. Oh my gosh. And here we go. Here's my fiance. She told me this. All right.
You just got to challenge him a little bit. You see, he went straight to telling us. I got you.
Yep,
I got
yep.
you, Kendra.
I'm
And I just messaged you in the back. I'm glad you did that. That was really good to hear, Humble Dad.
For sure. For sure. I appreciate y'all asking me. I wasn't going to answer that question, but here we go.
You did a great job, though.
I appreciate it. I'm working on myself, And just for the record, I really appreciate when y'all come up here, because like I was telling Dwayne when we have our weekly conversations that like I learn from you all, and I try to put whatever it is that y'all said, not everything, right, but something that y'all say, I try to implement immediately, and to use it in my tool belt, and I challenge y'all to do the same. All right, cool. So the thing that we're talking about is that the reason why I was asking about how they view you is kind of definitely leading into other parts of the conversation. But I recognize that with my son Joshua, I had asked him about I had asked him a question one time. I can't remember the specific question, but his insight on me as a person, as a man, as a dad. I think what it was, oh my bad. He was talking about my fiance. This is what it was. And I said, "What do you think about Kendra?" And he was like, I think she's cool. I like her." I said, "Why do you like her?" He says, "Because she's busy and she still finds time to come see us and check on us and have fun with us." Right. And I say, "Like, you pay attention to that?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I pay attention to that." Right. So kids are looking at us even when we're not thinking about what it is that we're doing. And so that's why I ask, how do you think that they view you? And so that leads us into the next part of the conversation, which is, should we teach our children to look to be married or single? Should we teach our kids to look to be married or single? And anybody can go. And anybody
That
can
must be a troll question of the night. That's a troll question.
Thank you.
You trolling.
Thank you.
I'll let somebody else go.
No, go ahead, Trigger. You volunteered. Go ahead and jump on in there, Trigger.
Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna jump in. It is an absolute requirement that my children be married. Absolute requirement. They are going to learn throughout their life the same way I was taught what marriage is about. I cannot take the situation in America or really just the Western world lightly. What I've noticed is not just a failure of the decision making, the precursor for that decision making, that foundation was a lack of education on what marriage is about and how to sustain one properly. So that my children will get that education. They will, for lack of better words, have a PhD in educate in marriage first, right? So it's of the utmost importance, right? Because when you look at our culture, what we uphold, you have to instill values in your children and let them recognize or help them to recognize how this will carry them through every stage of their life, right? I make the assumption all the time because it's really on the men and women that are um, the young men and women right now. The young women have no idea what a man's purpose is. The young men have no idea how to choose a woman of value,
Mm.
right? And they just keep perpetuating the cycle of effery, right? So and blaming it on the system or blaming it on the institution of marriage in general, when it's never been the marriage, the institution of marriage. Institution of marriage is actually perfect. That's the way marriage never did nothing to nobody. It was the people themselves that corrupted it. So absolutely, I will teach my children to be married. Do I call on somebody next?
Nah, anybody chime in? They good.
Yeah, so I think it's very important, and I like what you said, Trigger Mike. I think that was really, really good. That we, even if our kids something happens and they don't get married, we have to teach that marriage mindset. It is too many people today that cannot work with anybody. I mean, can't work with anybody. Can have sex with somebody, can get it in with somebody, but can't really work with anybody. And I think that we've just assumed that you get married, here goes a marriage. That's not the way it works. Marriage is about principles, about ethics. It's about temperance. It's about forgiveness. It's about raising a family. It's about looking ahead. It's about changing. It's about growth. It's about a lot of different things. And if we don't teach our kids how to do that, when they go through tough times in life, or they have to learn how to work on teams, or have to work with people and do this long term, they won't have the skills to do this. So I think it's important that we teach that, and that we bring a level of respect back to marriage, because we're so far off in this culture that we think you go have some kids and now you got a family. That's not the way it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be husband, wife, that's the family. And then you bring kids into that healthy family so that they can go out and be productive and do the same thing. But we've gotten so chaotic and out of order that look at the world now. And we could, rely on our politics, and we can rely on those things to say, you know what, everybody, to each his own, do what you want to do. But look at the state of where we are now, just in the Western world, this way of thinking. So I think marriage, we have to put some respect back on that and teach our kids that it's okay to need somebody. And then I'm gonna lay my plan on this one. I know this is what I love. It's okay to need your spouse. I think somewhere we didn't got caught up saying, no, I don't need you, I want you. And it's a flawed way to think, because what we're saying is I'm protecting myself from me being vulnerable and having to depend on you as what a spouse is supposed to provide. And the truth is, when you're with somebody who you're with the right person, it should be okay that you need them. When I got my woman, I need her in my life. If God should take her, I'll be devastated. I'll be all the blues, BB King, all that's coming out, right? I need her for what she has. And it's got to be the same thing for women. It's okay for a woman to say, I need my husband. It doesn't make her smaller. And I think that as human beings, we pretend like we don't need each other when we actually do. So I would start teaching that it's okay to need people, but not to become needy of people, as a way to say, there's a difference between what you can get from a person and then what you can build with a person. So yes, marriage is absolutely important to teach.
Can I add something to the need statement really quick? So that need part is so important because that particularly that's the creed of the modern man and woman. I don't need nobody, you know what I mean? I'm good on my own. And realistically, statistically, economically, all of it, the people believe that because women work and they have their own stuff, that the need for a man or a partner is erased. What I'm noticing now when I look at the stats, the need is actually just delayed. So everyone in their 20s and 30s, yes, hot girl summer, city boys up, all of that is cool. When you get into these later years, you're going to realize, oh snap, this is not what it was cut out to be. The middle class is about to be erased because of inflation. So that means the average earning American won't be able to afford a single family home. What does that tell you? You need to a partner. You see what I'm saying? You have one child. You need someone to help you take care of them without being on public assistance. So, like I said, the need is not erased. It is just delayed. So if they don't know it now, they're going to find out soon. And if you don't know, now you know.
Hmm. I like that, fellas, and I like that approach. Um, One thing I noticed is as for the need that y'all are focusing on, it is true because out of all the it was good in Genesis, the negative was man was not meant to be alone. So we're relational people, we're relational beings, but whenever it comes to the marriage confines that's put forth in the Bible, it's between a man and a woman, and in that that design is a design for life, and a lot of that what is society is pushing is death, straight up. So whenever you have all these women that will come together and they're like, oh, you my girl and all this and blah blah blah, it's only temporal. Marriage, that commitment, that's how I look at marriage. It's a commitment, and from a societal standpoint there's a lot of lack of commitment. You used to be able to sign a deal with a handshake and all that, blah blah blah, but there was something behind that. You say you're going to do something and you do it, but then it goes for me with, people get diagnosed with ADD, right? And they can't pay attention. So that focus on yourself is now all scattered all over the place. And then you, as for focusing on a mate or your spouse, like that's where building that family then comes in. So due to the lack of commitment, I see that our society and the way that it's developing with, I'll say stuff like feminism, the beta, how would you say that, the demasculine demasculating men and making men into women and making women into men, or inversing the whole ship. I think that is a detriment to our society, and I think it's done by design. And if you believe that, you're going to buy into it. But I don't believe that men were meant to be alone. I don't believe that we were supposed to be separate. Now, Paul does say that if you can be single, but that's in service to the Lord. But in turn, I do believe that we are wired for sex. We're wired for procreation. So in that burning desire, like, we should be able to find a mate and commit to them. And just like what you were saying, Trigger, like, a lot of people don't think about the we were talking about math earlier, right? Two is better than one mathematically. So as for financially, two people coming together trying to make it work is much better than one person doing it from a mathematical standpoint. So I do also then believe that rolls into, as for raising kids, two people, male and female, raising the kids is much better than just one that's singular.
Ladies, it's on you.
I'm just going to jump right on in there. The men did such a great job. Ditto. All right. I think that covers.
That's it.
There we go. Thank you. Yes, I agree. They then gave financial standpoints, just rational thoughts here. So yes, I agree. Thank you. Shades on you. All right.
Let's see. Y'all saw me sitting back here in the cut because I was like, okay, I agree. I agree. I agree. I will teach my son to be married, so not to be single for all the reasons that the other three panelists mentioned before. It's just two is better than one, like Dwayne said, if you want to quickly sum it up. So,
So since y'all being short with it, what's the age that you would say to your son and daughter they should look to be married or looking towards marriage? We'll start with either one of the ladies.
Honestly, I think getting married in your 20s, you should start looking. And if your parents have raised you well enough, it should be acceptable. I think this idea of putting careers and ourselves and all of these other things before marriage is, I personally know so many people who are having infertility issues because they've waited so long. And I think we are hurting our population. I mean, people were getting married or having children at 13, 14. As soon as you were able to come into your womanhood, you were ready to be married and to have a children and start a family. And we see that as being something that is unnatural now, and that is how our society, how our country was built. So I'm not saying we need to have 10, 12, 13-year-olds having babies, but if you're 20, if you found your partner, then why not go for it? Why do
Yeah.
we need to feel the need to continue hopping around looking for people? It's
Well,
unnecessary.
it's a product of bad advice.
Yes.
When you look at it, that you have time. So that particular statement is something that, moms, unfortunately, I believe I blame so much on millennials over the years. I thought it was us that created these problems. It was actually Gen X that did that. It was a lot of grandmas. It's not modern women. It was grandmas and moms that they started. They lived through the 60s. They sniffed a little, white stuff. They were like, "Girl, I was having fun," and I cut it short because I had a kid. You have time, girl. Live your life. Have fun, because they were trying to live vicariously through their daughters.
Mm-hmm.
But biologically, only one of us, between the man and the woman, has a clock. Biologically, it's the women that have the clock. So that was actually the worst advice that could have ever been given. I'm going to tell my daughter to date with intent right after undergrad. You start entertaining offers, right? So I think my daughter, I'm Nigerian, so we only push our kids into certain fields. So yeah, she's going to be a doctor. She's going to be something like that. If you meet a guy, plenty of my female cousins are doctors. They met their husbands in medical school. They started entertaining, a few of them in undergrad. That's how serious you have to be about it, because you have to get women just unfortunately have to get their lives together faster than men do. It's an unfortunate burden, and unfortunately you have a clock that's running against you. So definitely dating with intent after undergrad, and she should be married before 30. That's my advice. My son, same advice, only I'm going to check him physically. I don't want him to be that person that's in the dating pool after 30. Personally, ladies know and are figuring out now that somebody pissed in the dating pool after 30. When you watch these shows like Ready to Love, and they'll put it up there and it's not the men. It's not the men that have been married before. They seem to be the most mature. They're in their 40s, and they speak very eloquently about what went wrong. They're very detailed and succinct about, this is where my marriage went wrong and this is how I contributed to it. It's those never been married 37-year-olds. Watch those dudes' attitudes, how they have short fuses. They can't stay on one subject too long. Those men actually have something wrong with them. So I'm gonna tell my son, you're not going to be in this dating pool like those men after 30. You are going to date with intent. 25 and after, you're going to pick the best available woman to you to start building your family. This bond that people love to pretend like they need to search for is actually built. You can't find it. You build it. So out of all these chocolate chip cookies that you're seeing out here, you're going to bite one. Okay, you're going to bite one and you're going to start your life with that lady.
I want to. So when I was younger, we used to eat things chitterlings, chitlins. We used to eat those things. Used to be, it'd be the grains, and I mean the soul food. I mean you got to put the hot sauces and pork chops, all that stuff. And the way that it was, you ate what was cooked. And you ain't get no if you don't eat that, that's it, right? And you get older, you start to realize that stuff really is not good for you. But this is how it is with relationship advice. A lot of our parents, we had to eat what they served. A lot of these young ladies got advice because that's all mama knew. And that was the diet that she gave her. And so now when they can't find somebody, it's difficult, but they have to go back and look at the diet that they've been on for all of these years. And I think this is why it's so important for parents to play a role in shaping how their kids view relationships, because whether we like to admit it or not, a father or a mother can make a child say, you know what, I'm not doing this at all, right? Or they could say, you know what, I do want to do this. And so we as parents, we got to make sure we're not feeding our kids soul food that's bad for us, and actually put them on a diet by providing a level of insight and wisdom for how to view marriage long term. So I just wanted to throw that part out there, because a lot of these young ladies, like, I go in on a lot of this stuff, but at the heart of it, it's not all their fault, because people do what they know, what they've heard. And if you start training a child in the way that they should go early about how to view, I just threw Proverbs in there early, well, then when they get old from it, they won't depart from it or easily depart from that. And so it's easy to start off right. So parents, you get yourself right. You parents, you mothers over 30, 40, 50, you being unhappy, go look at yourself, because a lot of these marriages that people are unhappy in, you ain't even doing all you can in that marriage. You done checked out, right? You hoping somebody else come along. You believe God's going to send you somebody, work on what you have. And what my brother Trigger Mike said is, you build it. You don't get what you don't build. You don't reap what you don't sow. You don't harvest what you don't plant. And if we teach our kids that, I think we set them up for success.
Yeah, man, I dig that. So on the topic of meals, right? I look at it like our society is tuned in or programmed to have dessert before the meal. So you have your meal set out, but then before you even get into that, you don't want to mess with that. Just like children, right? If you ask your kids, like, what would you like first, dessert or the meal? They're gonna go to dessert. So now once it gets to the meat and the potatoes, what's going to be their attitude? They're full. I'm good. So I look at that from a relational standpoint. Whenever I was going through marriage counseling, premarital counseling before we got married, we went through this program called Merge. It didn't want us living together. It didn't want us. We couldn't be having sex. If we were having sex, we had to cut it out throughout the program, and we had to commit to that. And there's a reason for that, because we were trying to have dessert before the actual meal, right? And in that, it's like, hey, you're gonna have so much sugar and so much of this artificial that you ain't gonna have any of that real substance. So by the time you actually get into your marriage, like, you just want the sweets, and you're not willing to handle the meat and potatoes. And me personally, I appreciate that, because there is more to a relationship than that just sex. There is significantly more to a relationship than just sex. And as for our society now, we're predisposed to instant gratification, and building is what takes work. Building up to that is what takes work. And I look at it from that standpoint. As for with my children now, even as from our young ones, my 6-year-old daughter, like, hey, like, we talk about marriage. Like, hey, if you want to have kids, hey, marriage. Like, we list out the process as for how it everything will then work. Hey, if you desire to have kids, you gotta be married first. And I think there's a reason for that. There is a reason for that, because that's for that commitment. It's much easier to renege on a commitment whenever there is no obligation or any tie to it. And whenever you commit to something, you say by verbal and by your actions that I'm committed. And then you then start that building process. And I look at it in the same way. You build a house, you got to find the property, and then you have to have a floor plan, and then you have to go on and then get the materials, and then you start laying the foundations, and then you start building on top of that, on top of that, and on top of that. So I look at it that most people just want the house, and they don't care about the foundation.
So what ages would you suggest? And then we'll come to
Age,
you.
age is whenever you are now going to say that I'm committed to you. And whenever you start saying that, it's like that's whenever you start the building process.
Okay.
So as for age, like, I hear this stuff about, like, high school sweethearts. Those things exist. Soulmates, like, I think there's a misconception of whenever people are in a relationship and they're not happy, it's like I didn't marry my soulmate. No, you're just not working hard enough in your building process,
Mm.
because it is a building process. And as for that soul mate, it's an intertwining of who you both are. And I think that's why it says, and they came together and they were one, they let leave and cleave. So in that process, it's that intertwining of who you are, not just in creating, then showing those offspring what it is that y'all came together for.
Nice.
Go ahead, Shay. Go ahead, Shay. Then we get your trigger, Mike.
I was just going to add that if you have a community that is supporting a married couple, they can get married young. I say young, like 19, 20, 21. But what I often hear, and I think you and I had this conversation, Elijah, is that in America, only Black Americans always say the woman, right? In other um, ethnicities, races, demographics, the man finds the wife. And the pressure is put on the man to find the wife and to date with intention and to hold that responsibility, right? The woman should also date with intention as well. But I think Trigger Mike said, like, for his son, yeah, by 30, I'm questioning you, like, what's going on? Like, what is the problem? And I think when you have a community of married, successfully married people who can encourage that process, then it does work out well throughout the different stages that most marriages will encounter, because everyone has been through it at some point in time. So I think if we specifically as Black Americans can take that same ownership, men, um, then we will see a lot of success in marriages, and we will see, our generations change.
Nice.
Did you have something you wanted to say or add to that, Trigger Mike?
No, that was facts.
That's what's up. Shan, did you have something you wanted to say? Sit back in the cut. You finish eating now.
There's still a little more over there on the side there.
Okay.
Um, But no, I think everybody made valid points. That was a really good topic of discussion. I actually wrote that one down
Yeah.
Who
to
you gonna be
have.
talking about it with?
Huh?
Who you gonna talk about it with?
A couple people.
Hmm.
Couple people
Okay.
that I know. Yeah, I mean, I want to know what their viewpoints are on, with their how they want their children to do, and then kind of get into these ideas. Like there were some really good ideas with just even moving forward for people who are single now, and these ideas of marriage and how they feel about that. Are people actually out here dating with intent? I know quite a few single people in their late 30s and 40s who are still just playing around. Like it's just yeah. So
Hmm. I do have one more thing to chime in on.
Okay.
So the Bible says to be fruitful and multiply, and I do believe in that process. There's quality to that multiplication. Um, in the parable of the sower, it said, there was 30-fold, 60-fold, and 100-folds of the good seed that landed on good ground, or the seed that landed on good ground. So I do believe it does qualify or quantify what is good. So as for being fruitful and multiply, that is something for us to do. But I don't think there's, as for the, I think we had this question too, as for the quality of like the value of a baby mama, right? I think that there is value, but that value is not as um, um, how can I put this? The intention. I don't think the intention was for women to be single in raising their kids. I don't think that's the intention. Now, the thing that I then will then have to say is that something that we then would then desire for our kids? Like those things do happen, but are those things that we would then desire for our kids? And I don't think that should be. And Shay made mention of it earlier as for what is impacting certain generations. And I do see that we are being convinced that our family structures are supposed to be built a certain way, and in the convincing us of doing things wrong, we will then impact ourselves or impact our culture in a negative way. Um, because I do look at it like it is a balance, and if I may mention of this before, Tony Evans may mention it as for being out of alignment. So the car will still run, but there's damage that is being done in the process. Um, so the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I do sincerely believe that there isn't a an attempt or a conspiracy, as you may say, or as they may say, to destroy the nuclear family. And in that process, that will do significant harm to our society. And I don't think many people understand how much harm it will do, because hurt people do hurt people. And whenever people are deficient, I'm deficient because of my parents' relationship. I saw certain things. I'm trying to change it, right? But then it's identifying those things. Not many people will identify the things that have gone wrong in their lives, and they'll continue thinking what they're doing is correct until, and it'll just then just play out. So I do take it personal in this area. And as for generational curses, what does it take to break a generational curse? Being aware of it and doing something different than what happened in the past.
That's what's up, man. This is a very good dialogue. You, I think that sometimes we think that conversation has to have disagreements, when in actuality, it doesn't always have to have a disagreement in order for there to be productivity, right? We can, if we understand what the issue is, then we can begin to problem solve quicker, right? As opposed to staying on the problem. And so he was kind of segueing into the topic of the discussion for this evening. And the reason why I thought about this was because of Kiki Palmer, her on Saturday Night Live. revealed that she was pregnant, right? And but she's not married, and it was a great applause for her. And the information that we've shared this evening is that it would make more sense for you to be married, Kiki Palmer, and you should be able to. I mean, you're a beautiful lady. You know a lot of men. Like you should have been able to, in my estimation, find a man that would wife you up to impregnate you. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's what I would assume, right? I know that one time, who was it? Steve Harvey was trying to tell her how she needs to be in order to have a man, and she told him he didn't know he was doing. He was telling her the wrong information. Well, I don't know. Okay, maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. However, it leads me to things that we always talk about. You know, I was raised by a single mother. Most of the people in my family were raised by single mothers. It's just by God's grace that we're not similar to the statistics that we see. We are anomalies if you look at the statistics. And Shan and Shay know the men and the children in our family pretty well. However, as a teacher, I see the detriment of kids not having the two parents in the household, and those that are, I don't know if y'all know this, but in the school system, a kid that does not a kid that has a single parent is automatically labeled an at-risk child in the system. Literally, like when I go to my computer, it says at-risk student. Okay, just off the top. So with that being said, the question is, would you celebrate your daughter becoming a single mother? What I mean by that is, would you throw her a baby shower? Would you exalt her in any way? What would that would you celebrate her in the way that we see society is applauding Kiki Palmer? And we'll start with anyone who wants to go
For
first.
clarity though, so did she go on Saturday Night Live and say, "I'm pregnant, but I'm not married"?
No, she didn't say I'm not married, but but everybody knows that she's not. She has a
I did,
boyfriend.
but okay.
Well, what I mean by everybody is for the general population that knows who she is, knows that she's not married.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm sorry. It's oozing out of me, y'all. I gotta go first. I can't hold it together. All right, let me be very clear. I impregnated my girlfriend a month, maybe 29 days before I was set to propose. Well, I found out she was pregnant, was like, oh, this is really gonna, well, okay. So yes, there's that. But I'm a marriage minded person, and we were gonna get married and all that, just kind of jumped the gun there. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite when it comes to my daughter and say she needs to full on be married. But obviously, we're not idiots. We know when someone is in a committed relationship, and it's really not even about my daughter. It's with a serious man. I don't think we use that term enough to describe the way we want our boys to turn out, and we want our boys to become serious men with intent. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was 18 years old, and because my father was a serious man, I would just answer that question when people ask me. I just want to do a man who does what he says he's going to do. That's all I know right now. And that's who I became in life and the goal I set for myself. So I'm able to recognize that in other men. Is this a man that my daughter is with or pregnant by that is going to do what he says he's going to do? If he says he loves her, if he says he's going to marry her, does he want to be a part of this family? But I also have to look at the Kiki Palmer situation and see that she's perpetuating the same cycle of ignorance that has gotten us this deep into this hole. Do not celebrate, because I'm telling you right now, the first thing I looked at when I saw that headline was her ring finger. I know at least half of America did the same thing. It is innate in us to feel like, what situation have you put together for this child? Forget about you. Forget about your friends that's going to throw you the baby shower. What about this child? Because internally we know that's the way children are supposed to be raised. So you're sitting here celebrating, but is it for you or is it for the child? Because I think the child, as Humble Dad said, is now at risk. We've seen this play out. The statistics are not in her favor. So let me tell you what I will do with my daughter because of this. If my daughter becomes pregnant by someone who is not serious and she goes about it in the way that she's going to have a baby shower, I cannot attend. I cannot, feeling the way I feel about the way we boys and girls carry themselves in modern society today. Her becoming pregnant by a man who's not serious, then wanting to brag about it and go around telling everyone, shows me that I failed in a key area as a father. Because I'm not teaching that, right? There is going to be an adequate amount of shame involved, as there is supposed to be. So she knows not to do it. There were plenty of single mothers in Generation X, plenty of single mothers or teen moms in the baby boomer generation. They were shamed. They were one off. They only did that once and never again, most of them. But now you can see the cycle where if Keke Palmer gets off with it once and everybody's celebrating and reposting her pics, guess what's going to happen 2 to 3 years from now? Another baby father, different dude, so you can see we have enough evidence today to let us know we should not be celebrating that type of thing. And I'm going to be real with you. When you want to look at how people view Black people in America, that is what our celebrities, we cannot allow or glorify our celebrities in that way. That we cannot allow them to speak for us in that particular sense. Why are you going, like, no one else does that, to where you should have been gone for about a year. Just hide yourself away, focus on, the baby's father and the baby, the life you're going to provide for it, settling down, but don't be out here glorifying that nonsense, because my daughter's going to see it. My niece is going to see it. Right. So, we got to learn as a collective, understand why this is detrimental to our society in totality. We know internally that's not the way our children are supposed to be behaving. So I'm shaming it on site. I'm not going to the baby shower. Me and her mom are probably going to have words, because her mom's going to be like, you're supposed to support. And if that baby comes out, boy or girl, yes, I will be a grandfather, but she will know how I have felt about the way this happened. This process is not sanctioned by me at all. That's all I got.
I love the passion in that, because shoot, that's real. I There's a lot of things that I don't condone and I won't participate in, and I don't desire that to misconstrue that I don't love you, but love takes in different forms, and in it's a tough one, because you have to, like, you the I don't desire. It's tough as parents to watch our kids make bad decisions, and the bad decisions that are going to make things harder for them. So whoever this young lady is, it's not just her, it's that's how I put it. It's anybody, and it's not just to the young women. I look at even the situation with Nick Cannon, however many kids he got now, right? Like, from a father's standpoint, it's like, man, we don't even know the wake that he's leaving behind in that process. Like, those kids, like, because as for being present, somebody may mention earlier about trauma, like, not being present in your children's life will cause trauma. So the lack of that presence, like, you can't spread yourself between that many households. Like, so as for her, like, the very fact that that child has the idea that they weren't married when you were conceived, if they have that ability to think about that. And the reason why I even say it like that is, again, there's a process. So to me, it's like, I look at it like it's being done out of that process. Like, marriage comes first. Even in that little nursery rhyme, first comes marriage, then comes the baby with the baby catcher, or however it goes, right? There's a process to it. So, like, even being out of that process, like, there's certain things to it. Now, not to say that a stepfather can't come in, right? But still, they could only do so much because there's a detachment from that biological standpoint. I mean, there's always that wonder. You have these kids who are adopted, and they still would wonder who their biological parent is. There is something built into that. I don't know what it is, but there's something built into that. So from this lady, what's her name again? Humble Dad.
Kiki Palmer.
Yes, that young. I have no idea who she. But as for celebrating that, that shouldn't be celebrated. And a lot. I'll put it like this: there's a lot of things in our society now that are celebrated that used to be shamed
Yes.
years ago.
Mhm.
And the very fact that it is no longer everything people are proud about all these degradation of how we live are now glorified. And it's like, hmm, what is your end goal? What is the end goal? And I have to ask myself that, because if you don't need a man, your kids need a father.
Mhm.
Your kids need a mother. So it's like, it is so selfish in the way that you will then go out and get what you want, but whenever you then incur the receipt of your transaction or the product of your transaction, you don't think about that. So I do really believe that these things should not be celebrated. And for all, and I've touched this before, and I know it was a sore one, but for all this talk about pro-choice this, pro-choice that, there has to be better choices. So as for being the desire to be a single mom, make a better choice and realize that that's going to impact you, like from the very beginning, that will impact you negatively. Yes, you're going to get your little instant gratification, but what about the long term? A lot of us don't think about that long term.
That's good.
This is a good topic. I'm actually right before the show on Mondays and Wednesdays, I go to a homebound. So I teach a young lady at home, um, 4 hours a week. And the reason why she is on homebound is because she's pregnant. And so we were able to kind of talk a little bit today. So it's interesting that this was the topic of conversation that was brought up on this evening. And I would have to agree with Trigger. I would also have to, agree with Dwayne. The first thought that I had, especially being an educator, when you brought this up was, working in schools, they wouldn't even let the pregnant children around everybody else at one point. And now, because there is so much inclusion, everybody has to be inclusive, right? It's okay to see pregnant girls walking down the hallway. It's not uncommon. We have caused so much detriment to our children and exposed them to so much, and just anything goes in the world that we live in. And a lot of it is for the sake of this belief that we are not to judge, when fundamentally judgment is a fundamental part of our society, our culture. Biblically speaking, it is fundamentally there. I mean, the people wanted to appoint judges over them. Like, we introduced judgment into a society when God himself was the only judge. Like, we put that there, we put that in place, and we are to judge situations. We teach our kids about judgment. You judge a character, how does that person look? What does he look like? You don't want to walk up to somebody who looks crazy, but yet when the judgment comes with some harsh reality, some truth, some facts, making us, be introspective about our actual situations, we don't want to hear it or deal with it. Oh, well, you're judging me. Oh, I'm overweight. So you're not a look. I know I'm overweight. Heck, what am I going to do about it? You know what I mean? So there are certain things in our society that I think we need to take a step back from and really start saying, I mean, I honestly don't agree with having a celebration for a single mother. That is a life of detriment. Like, you are the things that we are asking for. And yes, she can take care of her own baby because she makes a lot of money. But every person that is following you, they're not rolling around with bags. You are inspiring young girls who don't have support systems, who don't have bank accounts filled with money, who don't have endorsement deals, who don't have singing contracts, and so these children are our welfare recipients. These children are standing in lines to get free gifts, had their babies' names on the Santa trees in December because you can't afford to take care of them. These mothers are the ones working at the Walmarts because they decided to give up education so that they can make a quick buck to try to take care of a child. So, like, why then are we celebrating this? And even if the child is not doing it, then the responsibility is now on the family. You know how many grandmothers are taking care of their their grandchildren? It's not something that I honestly believe that we should be celebrating either. So,
yeah, I want to chime in on this one. I'll have to go in just a bit.
Are we wrapping it up after this person goes? Yeah.
Okay. This is Kiki's responsibility, but this is not her fault. And I'll tell you why. We did a great job with shaming with people who did wrong. We did a great job of shaming. But shame was supposed to be the sauce. It wasn't supposed to be the meal. And I think that over the course of shaming and people feeling the weight of that, shame, we tried to act like what happened didn't actually happen. So we put the shame on there, but we never corrected the actual issue. We just hid it. Go down south. Your auntie is going to, take over the kid. We're going to say it's her child. You come up here like you didn't do nothing wrong. Don't ever mention this again. So we hid some stuff. We never corrected stuff though, because shame is supposed to be used as a supplement to help a person see wrong and then to make change. What we do is we just fed them shame, right? There was no corrective measures taken though, except for you gonna go to hell if you don't get right. But there was no corrective measures in this. And so I think that we as a community, we misused it. And I think we overused it and we didn't bring back correction. And certainly we don't allow people who've made mistakes to say, I made a mistake. I wish I didn't do it. Can I be restored? Can I be reconciled? And then help me to do better. We just try to hide it. And I think that we collectively have to do a better job with that as a community, as religious people, because this is what ministry, if we're talking about ministry, this is what it's about. It's about reconciliation. That reconciliation literally means, the literal definition of this means to change my mind. So we're trying to change people's behavior. We're not even trying to change people's perception on what they're doing. And that's what happens when we focus on shame and not the reconciliation part. So I think we have to do a better job of this. The last part though is, well, I don't believe in throwing a baby shower, because what that would do is that will reinforce that the decision is well. I think that for this is one of those, I need to show you what real life looks like. So the baby shower is, you're going to get gifts, but what you're really going to need is a picture of what life is going to look like if you're raising a kid by yourself and they don't have the resources that they need. That's what a lot of the kids need. This is not to say the kids shouldn't get what they need, because it's expensive. I got 4 of them kids, and every single day I pray and then I do this. It's expensive, right? You know what I mean? But if we glorify this, what are we doing for young girls who've been indoctrinated that you don't need a man except for some penis and a paycheck, right? That's all you need him for. And as long as you get these 2 things, you're going to be just fine. Well, what we're doing is setting her up to have a lifelong rotation of penis, paychecks, and somebody who can protect her without the character development that causes her to be able to commit to somebody long term through thick and thin. So it's bigger than somebody having a baby and coming out and saying, I'm having a baby. What we're doing is we're making this seem like this is a good thing and it's a normal, and that no one should question this. We're going to celebrate single motherhood because we no longer celebrate family. And I think that's the whole problem in this.
Dwayne, you gotta stop doing the back check in the middle of Sir L's speech, bro. This dude,
Yeah,
like,
that's funny.
did
Hey,
you
I was
hear
That's
just
the new
Sir
thinking.
L
PPP
in the
loan.
back check? What he said?
Hey, and
Hey, I was adding it up, and then he had a protection. I was like, oh, there you go. There that PPP loan.
so really quick before I forget to do it. So I wanted to add something to Shan's statement about Kiki Palmer has the money to have a baby. I believe that is also one of the issues that we're suffering from, that women think that because, and they're not thinking about their own money. We got to be real. They're thinking about the assistance they can get. They're thinking about how they can put the man on child support. So there are too many avenues for women to collect money and become single mothers, and it's becoming an entitlement for them, right? Uh, and they are enabled to do so. But here's the crazy thing about this money play that a lot of pregnant women who are expecting are doing. They need to realize that money cannot replace a biological parent. It cannot. There are days here where my youngest, or my, I'm sorry, I got a pre-K, I told y'all last week, comes home with new behaviors, new sayings, new attitudes every single day. And it's either my wife or me that catches it and immediately has to correct it. Okay? If only one of us was here, half of that stuff at least would get missed, because they'd be upstairs playing, right? And doing it and getting away with it. So it's that constant attention and correction by a biological parent that makes them eventually, blossom into who they are. The other thing money cannot fix, and this is the really important one, money cannot fix that kid's psychological outlook on relationships, because their biological parents didn't think enough of them to stay together. That no amount of money can fix that. We've seen the stats that say if your parents weren't married, the likelihood of you getting married and sustaining a fruitful marriage decline. It drastically declines. So you can't fix that with money. That's all I got.
Shay, you got the last words, and then we're gonna wrap it up unless somebody else got something.
Okay, so I don't have much to say. I did agree with Sir Hill on a few things, that shame didn't solve the problems of the previous generations at all. So will I shame? No, I won't. My sister had a baby at 16, and I saw how that traumatized her when my mom shamed her. Like, was like, you can't stay here. This is not it, right? Without the correction. And I would much rather have the relationship, and a good, healthy relationship with my child and grandchild, than to not. So will I shame? No. Will I glorify? No, but I will celebrate, because I'll host a baby shower. I will bring gifts for the baby. They have a whole life ahead of them for experience to be their best teacher. And I'm not doing it. I'm just simply not. So I will add in the corrective behavior. And of course, experience will teach them as they are going through life as a single parent, because I've already stated your desire should be to get married. So um, that won't prevent me from throwing them a baby shower. Do I consider celebrating as glorifying? No, I think that they're two distinctive words, and we've kind of combined them together because we choose not to partake in whatever the festivities are. So that's my 2 cents.
That's what's up. Anybody have anything else to say before we get out?
Yeah, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I look at the concept of shame. I think shame can also then manifest from the conscience. So I look at it from what society accepts. So there's certain things that society will accept, and in that you can, whether or not you fall into that category or not, then that's where the revelation of shame comes from. And like in the Bible, whenever Adam and Eve, they sinned and God went looking for them, and they hid themselves. And the reason they hid themselves because they said that they were ashamed. I wonder, well, not I wonder, I look at that as the manifestation of the conscience, allowing them to know that they have done something wrong. They have violated God's precepts. and order for them. And in that, that shame is manifest. So I think as a society, there's a suppression of that shame, meaning there's a suppression of that conscience that, hey, um, this was done out of order or out of alignment. So I don't look at it like in I guess anybody who have seen Game of Thrones, where it's that shame session where it's, you're just ringing a bell and you're just being marched through the city. I don't think it's like that. It's you're more of your conscience doing it for you. But then I also then see there are consequences or unforeseen consequence, because I don't think they saw that an innocent animal was going to have to be slain in order for them to be covered or clothed in that process either. But there had to have been an atonement of the sin in which they committed. So I don't think that many people consider the consequences of the shameful acts that we may do. And whenever I say that, it's again from my worldview, is doing things out of order. Whenever I say out of order, it's out of God's order.
So yeah,
So
I just want to add really quick to the shame part of it. So y'all know I told y'all already, I'm Nigerian. Probably the biggest shamers on the planet. Probably the biggest shamers. I was shamed vigorously and relentlessly. And like he said, it weighs on your conscience because as you grow older, you start to learn the point. So, like Sir, he left, but like Sir Hale said, there is actually something between the shame and correction. And here's what I believe I experienced. It is shame first, then punishment or loss. You have to lose something as a result of what you did. And it needs to be consistent. You can't shame then accept them right back. That's what I believe we do in America. It is shame, punishment, and or loss of something they hold dear, either the relationship, friendship, respect, and admiration of their family. That'll do it almost every time. And then the correction.
trust.
That is how you change somebody's behavior. I'm telling you right now, name an outcome you like. I got it in my family because they were shamed. Okay. Single motherhood rate in my family, pretty much non-existent. We got a few, but uh teenage motherhood rate, pretty much not. You know you will get shamed. They probably taking care of those scenarios before anybody could find out, right? So it does have its effect. It is effective, but it needs to be done correctly.
That's what's up, man. Thank y'all tonight, man. Hey,
I'm so sorry.
you not sorry, bro. Listen, what you gonna say, dude?
No,
Get your
you
own
know what? I'm
channel,
not.
bro.
I'm not. I'm not. I am going. So earlier it was brought up about judging, and that's Matthew 7. And a lot of people misconstrue it, and they think it's judge not. Period. It's not judge not. Period. It's judge not, comma. And it says, "Judge not, lest ye be judged. For the measure that you measure will be measured back against you." So, for the standard, it's a measurement of double standard or hypocrisy. So, like as for your parents or anybody trying to encourage you to do better, they can't encourage you and have them not doing the same thing. So, I just want to say that as well with the judgment. So, it has to be righteous judgment.
That was dope, bro. I'm glad I let
Yeah,
you go again.
that was dope.
Well, hey, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna let these people go because and it wasn't my fault that y'all went over. Blame yourself. Okay. All right. And until next time, we out here. Deuces. Hey man, what a dope show. Like I didn't know where it was going. Never do I know. I just come up with the questions based on what it is that I'm thinking about in that particular moment, in that time. And so I think it was important to get everybody's perspective always. And is there a right or wrong? Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. For me, it wouldn't be a celebration, but it would definitely be a conversation as to what it is and the decision that was made. And so then there would be, I wouldn't be given certain things, but I definitely would, like one said, that I would be a grandfather to that kid, right? And that's for, my son or my daughter, right? And then definitely giving that correction and giving that moment of redemption, if you will, and reconciliation. And so hopefully you have enjoyed the show. make sure you let somebody know about it. And then hopefully you have these conversations with the people that you you interact with. And so please don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel, all on YouTube. All right, we pushing for 1,000. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. That way I can monetize, and then I can get more things out there as we go along. And like I always say, until next time, we out here. Deuces.